Okay, welcome back everybody. I decided to add on to the last video that I did when we were talking about, the cuts all, the Tacklife, and doing some wood carving and having kind of some fun, and that, it's not that expensive to get into it. I think that Tacklife rotary tool is about $35, and I'll leave the link again below like I did in the last video. And it's really good. I mean, especially to get started, it works great, and it comes with a flex shaft, everything else. Now, the other tool that I use is a MasterCarver, and I saw that the picture did not come out that well. So this is it right here. Okay, now it's similar to like that Foredom. And I left the link for the Foredom below. Now, I don't own the Foredom. This is a half horsepower, 30,000 RPM, reversible, 110, 120 bolt. It's got forward, reverse, and off. And this is the one that I chose quite a while back when I was doing wood turning. And I would have to do carving, and I would have to do some intricate sanding and stuff in some of the bowls that I turned. And it worked really well. So this is the one that that I've always had, as far as the more powerful one. And I got the cuts all bit. Now, this is the cone shaped bit. Okay. And like I said, just for those two tools, I mean, if you bought the Tacklife one, I'm not talking about the MasterCarver or the Foredom, you don't know if you really want to spend that kind of money and if you're really going to get into wood carving. The Tacklife is still very handy. I mean, it's handy for polishing, sanding, doing things on like a lot of small kind of work. I guess I wouldn't use it on anything real big. MasterCarver, Foredom, I mean, jewelers use them. There's lots of different trades that use them. My thing is wood carving. I do stuff on the lathe. I just do woodwork. Now, there's an interesting site, and I'm going to leave it right across the screen here. It's Carving Fusion, and it's a YouTube channel, and Jordy Johnson is the guy that actually does wood spirits. And because I had somebody drop a comment, I didn't leave the questions and stuff up on the forum very long, but I started to go back and I like to reread them and see if there's anything that would make content to talk about. And they said, I don't know how to draw a wood spirit. Okay, I didn't either. I went to Jordy's channel, and he's got a bunch of videos there, and he takes you through things, I mean, step by step, including on how to draw them on wood. And so I would encourage you to go over, check out his channel, and think about it, and think about whether or not it's something, you might want to get into. If you're going to get into wood carving in a very serious way, then you want either the MasterCarver or you want to get the Foredom. Now, there's nothing wrong with Dremel or the Tacklife. It'll get you started, and you can do everything that the MasterCarver and the Foredom do, but at a much cheaper price. You're going to go slower maybe. It doesn't have the power and the torque that the MasterCarver and the Foredom do, but you'll get a feel for if it's something that you really even want to get involved in. Now, the nice thing about the Foredom, mine comes with this foot pedal. It's like a variable speed foot pedal. And I keep it down below. You won't be able to see it. We'll do a little demo here in a minute. But, this controls the speed, of that cutting burr. Okay, so the bottom line, like I said, is, with the Foredom and the MasterCarver, they're going to cost you more, but it's a hell of a lot more power, a hell of a lot more torque, especially if you're going to really get into any kind of carving. Now, if you're not, and you're just going to do simple stuff around the shop, there's nothing wrong with the Dremel, and there's nothing wrong with the Tacklife. Which one do I favor? Well, when I looked at them at the time, I favored the MasterCarver. There's nothing wrong with the Foredom. Actually, the Foredom, I think it's the SR series, is more or less like the industry standard, really. There are different shafts available. Mine came with two different shafts. This is like a pencil kind of a shaft. I don't know what you'd call it. And it comes with a larger one for the 1/4 inch. And you can use 1/4 inch burrs on here. Like this is a coarse cone shaped bit. We can try it later possibly. They're easy to switch on and off these shafts. A lot of the times, or most of the time, I just have the smaller 1/8 on here. I mean, this does everything for me. But if you're going to really be hogging off a lot of material, it's nice that you know, both of them come, you know, with the larger handle. Okay, it's a couple things I didn't mention, or at least one of them I didn't mention in the last video. When you're using these tools, you don't want to create the wild loops like this. You'll snap that shaft. There's a metal shaft that runs through here, and you don't want to get up too close to something where it touches your clothes, because the moment it touches your clothes and it twists and it binds, the shaft snaps. Then you got to replace the shaft. So I learned the hard way, and I think I've got 2 backup shafts now, in my toolbox in case one of these snaps. You can also bury it really hard down into wood, too hard, and it can get caught up on you there and snap the shaft. So a little bit of care, and I realize I am not in a rush, when I do this stuff, so I try to take care of them because it's a little costly. I think the first go around, within 3 weeks, I broke 2 shafts. Learning curve, right? I learned, I had to keep buying them. Well, the foot pedal, the question about the foot pedal is why not just run it straight off of the motor, because it's just forward and reverse. What's nice about the foot pedal is it gives me variable speed. I can push lightly, and I'll show you. Give me just a sec here. Watch, lightly. Now if I really want to go faster, it can go much faster. So that's what's nice about it, is I can control the speed in, whatever I'm doing. Okay, now changing bits is not that difficult. There's a little hole right here. Okay. All you do is you turn this here, just turn it, and you'll feel this pin when it locks itself in there. It slips into like another hole, and it's just like that. And then all you do is a little spanner wrench in here. You just take the spanner wrench, loosen it up, take your burr off, put another one on, tighten it, take your little spanner wrench, and like I said, I just use one of these other little burrs to lock it. But really, that's all there is to it. And then you're into wood carving, and you're on your way. Okay, there's another handy little tip. Now, you'll see when I make signs, I use that trim router, the DeWalt, and that's probably about 90% of the time. But let's say I'm doing some really intricate carving, and it's hard to hold, that Tacklife, to do this with. So whether it's the Tacklife set, because it does come with a rotary tool setup, and it comes up, with everything that you need. What I made is I took that collet for the quarter inch shaft now. Okay, so I took that, and I glued it onto this piece of Lexan. I just cut it round. You can use a jigsaw, whatever. And I got these knobs for, I think, about 50 cents for the pair. They're just throwaway knobs from out at Lowe's. And I put on these little blocks, and from the bottom, you see I put in these screws going up. And all I did is I used my countersink bit to countersink into the Lexan gently, so that when the screw's there, it stays flush. Okay, now if I want to do any real detail work, okay, and I have that's the flex shaft coming up to the motor, or to the Tacklife, whatever, okay, and this is an exaggeration, this is sticking out way too far, but I can sit here with my safety glasses on this piece of wood, and I can do this. Okay, this gives me so much better control. And I made this. You can too. It's really easy. I took a piece of Lexan, I used a hole saw, I cut a hole in the bottom of it. I took the adapter, I epoxied it here dead center. 50 cents. A couple small blocks of wood for risers, because I wanted to keep it raised up a little bit. I didn't want it way down here. I found that with my hands, I'm like this, it's a lot nicer. So I put mine with a little bit of spacing here. Countersink, screws, you got yourself a handy ass little tool. Let me tell you, this is really slick when you're doing things like names, or let's say I've already routed out the names and all that stuff, and I'm going back and doing cleanup work with a much finer, smaller bit, or I want to do real intricate stuff. I can put this on there. You get that 2.5 times reading glasses from the dollar store that magnifies. When you're like this and you're doing this, the detail's incredible. So it's a quick tip little thing, but it works incredibly well. Now before you go out and get one, whether it's MasterCarver, Foredom, whatever you get, you want one that has interchangeable hand pieces. Because you can buy additional hand pieces, I mean, online. I mean, see, all this does is it just pops off of there. There's a bearing that holds this thing in, and then you just do this with the new one. Or you pop it off like this. Here's the bigger 1/4 inch. Pop it on just like that, and you're ready to go. So you can get different sized handles depending on what it is that you're gonna do. But they're fast and they're easy just to click on, and away you go. So you want them interchangeable. Anyway, that's the point. Now, what I would do is you want to keep, like I said, all the bends out of this the best you can. You can hang it above you, maybe from a chain, a hook, or whatever. Mine hangs on an old IV pole I found, junk store, thrift mart. They were going to throw it out. I think I bought it for $1. So, and it hangs on there perfectly. Now, it'll hold 2 of them, but you don't have to do that. You can make your own just out of a piece of round pipe and some 1/4 inch, cold rolled steel. You can bend your own hooks. So you can custom make them for your bench. So that's another option for you. Just figure out a way to hang it and keep the loops out of it. Now, when it comes to these cords, this is the one that came with it. They also make industrial. So you can check online. I know Foredom does. I haven't really invested the time to look to see if MasterCarver does. I'm sure that they do. Or I'm sure there's something out there that's interchangeable that will work. They're a much thicker kind of a coil wire on the inside of this, and the shielding is thicker. So it'll last you a heck of a lot longer. Now, I haven't run into a problem about ruining the sleeves, or I haven't ruined a shaft since I went through the learning curve quite a while back. That doesn't mean it won't happen, but probably, if I order any more in the future, I'll go with the industrial sleeves and the shaft. Okay, folks, we're going to switch over to the question part of things, but I noticed the video had cut out on me for whatever reason. So anyway, we'll go over to the question part of this, see if I can answer them. Now, somebody had made the comment, or through research, said, hey, can these cuts-all bits be used on tin cans, or anything like that? And what I read is the answer is no. You should probably use a stone bit. And don't try to use these, you'll destroy them. These are not, these cuts-all bits. This is, of course, the very coarse one, and it'll take off a whole lot of wood real quick. You don't want to ruin this just by playing around with tin cans and stuff. So I would use a stone and just grind away on it, and that'd be kind of the way that I would do it. Anyway, what I read is it'll destroy the bit, so it's not what you want to do. How about stone? Will they carve on stone? Well, somebody made a comment, if it's a soft kind of a stone, it would probably do okay. I wouldn't do it at all. I use these primarily on wood. I haven't tried them on anything like stone, but if I was going to do some stone carving, I would want some kind of a diamond tool. So that's my advice there. Where are they made? Cuts-all is an American-made company, American-made, burrs anyway here. So, if it matters to you, yes, they're American-made. The very coarse burrs, and we're not talking, and of course they sell coarse and they sell fine, like I said. Now, I have the very coarse. Now, I know when I bought those, it'll take a lot of wood off quickly, which is what I wanted. And they work really good for doing that, but you are going to have to do some sanding, or most likely you are, or some kind of texturing through burning, or some other means. But sanding, depending on the size of the project, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Or you can buy the coarse or the fine bits. Those choices, of course, are yours, depending on what it is that you're doing. Does cuts-all 1/4 inch shaft bits, will they fit in a router? Yeah, they will. I did try it the other day. I wanted to do some shaping on a piece of wood, and actually it worked fairly well. Now, I don't do a lot of shaping using these cuts-all bits, because I just bought them, but I can see where that is another use. If I need to do a lot of aggressive shaping real quick, then I can always go back and sand it. But yes, anyway, to answer your question, yes, they will work in a router. And you get the common question on a lot of these sites, will they fit in a Dremel? Yeah, again, if you go over to Carving Fusion and you watch what Jordy Johnson does, he has a Dremel, and the answer is yes, they fit, and he even demonstrates for you, in his carvings. And that's what he's using, I mean, is a Dremel. So what do I think when you're first starting out like me? You're better off on pine, and here where I'm at, pine, Doug fir, stuff like that at the big box stores is easy to get a hold of. It's a little bit easier to carve on. Now, you watched in that past video where I had a really dried out piece of mesquite, pretty dense wood. A little bit harder to carve, but I mean, if you think that the wood is worthy enough, take your time and go ahead and do it. I mean, but you know, if you're just starting out, I mean, if you want it to really, you know, cut smoothly and everything else, and you want to get used to the tool, I would tell you to do it on soft wood in the beginning. And what do I think of the Cutzel versus saber tooth burrs? I don't know. I don't have any experience using saber tooth burrs. These more aggressive bits, the only other ones I've used are what they call Typhoon bits. I don't even know who made them. I've still got it around here somewhere, but and it worked good because I was an intermittent user of it on the bottoms of bowl turnings and stuff when I was taking the nubs off, and it lasted, and it's still lasting me. So anyway, I don't have any experience on saber burrs. Maybe somebody else does and can drop it in the comments. So what do I think of these Cutzel burrs now that I've had them for a little while? Well, I haven't used them extensively, but like I said, you know, I'm a believer. I mean, I would definitely buy them again. I think they're a game changer when it comes to wood carving because, you know, you're not sitting there for long periods of time. You can actually, like I said, I mean, draw out your wood spirit or wherever you're going to draw, and you can start, you know, carving. And I showed you in the earlier part of the video, the handles you can change out quickly. If you're not sure, like I said, on getting started, then buy the Tacklife. It's, you know, a friend of mine and I had a conversation about it today, and I said, look, I believe everybody has the ability to do something artistically. It's a matter of finding, you know, what it is and what you're interested in, and then developing, you know, that skill and playing around until you get better at it, and you get better at it, and you get better at it. And you're not going to be real good the first time you do something, but you'll learn, and each time, it's just like with the wood lathe. When I first got it, my first sets of bowls, wow, I even got one as a reminder. I wouldn't buy it, but you know, it was fun to do. I did get better at it. I learned more technique. I learned different ways of doing things. And then you find out, you know, what works for you, and maybe you start selling them and you make money on the side. And for me, I have a full-time job, like I say in all my videos, like everybody else. So when I have time, I do these videos, I do different projects, and I sell them. I keep photos on my phone and stuff like that, and what I sell, I throw into PayPal or a separate account, and it fuels my hobby because I'm able to use that money to buy more sandpaper, more finishes, more wood or whatever, you know, MIG wire, whatever I'm doing. So, you know, I don't know. I would tell you, give it some thought. When a friend of mine and I sat down today, he goes, well, wood carving is kind of cool because you don't have to buy like a whole bunch of tools. And I go, no, neither is sign carving. If you want to make signs, you can get a trim router and a few bits, a 60 degree, a 90 degree, and a detail bit, and you can start making wood signs. You can make open and close signs, and you can go around and sell those. Somebody said, well, how much do you get for them? They're 35 to 40 bucks a piece. I don't sell them all the time, but I have about 4 or 5 of them, and I keep them, you know, with me in my car. And when I stop at these little mom and pop shops, you know, sometimes I hit them up about it and they buy them. And so other times I do ship them. And small stuff ships, like I said, and we've had conversations about that. I stay away from the big stuff, the shipping kills you, but small stuff like that's good if you're interested in wood carving. And you can also, you know, use these wood carvers, I mean, to make the signs. It is easier with a trim router or a router to make the signs, but it's still doable, you know, with these rotary tools. So let me know what you want to see, what you like. I mean, this weekend's project, I don't know if I'm going to do another one of those railroad ties in the wood thing that we did on one of the past videos. I have an order for one of those. I also have an order to, you know, make a sign for a lady at work. So I don't know which one of those I'll video on how to, but, you know, let me know in the comment below, you know, what you want to see more of, and, you know, I'll keep trying to produce the videos. You folks have a great day. I'm the Home Handyman. I hope you click subscribe, drop me a comment, let me know what your thoughts are, and thank you. Bye-bye.